I'd like to say good morning, St. Louis. We're going to go to school today. We're going to take a few minutes. Many of you are following what's going on with Ukraine, Russia. Germany decided that they're not going to utilize the pipeline in which Russia was supplying, supposedly getting ready to supply them with a tremendous amount of oil. We got problems. And the reason we have these problems is because of the power that these countries are basically trying to, in a sense, flex their muscles because of the resources that are needed from these countries. In other words, if Russia is supplying Europe with oil and possibly the vast majority of the world with oil, they can do and say what they want to say because many people or many countries need the oil. It's not about the people, it's about the oil. You think these countries are concerned about Ukrainian citizens? They're concerned about oil. It's about money. The root of all evil is the love of money. We must begin to ask ourselves, what can we do to abolish the need of oil? What can we do? I'm one to believe that we are literally in an enclosed system. Now, many of you might not understand where I'm going with this, but you need to take a second to understand why you're dying so young. Because you hadn't reached the power to live. 120 years is good to some of you. But when you live 100 years, you can't even process the information around you because you lost and lacked the power getting to 100. So you're dying every day. It's not like you're living when you get to 100. You can't even walk. In some cases, you can't even think. So that tells me we're going the wrong way. The question we must begin to ask ourselves, why are we going the wrong way? Why are we going the wrong way? If you're in a system, an enclosed system, and you start from the beginning and there's an ending, infinite. So therefore, that tells me you're going to run out of power. However, if you reach enough power within your own mind, your prefrontal cortex, hippocampus, and amygdala, you would need to stay and be a part of that system. You would leave that system. And as a result, you will stop time, which is information and data. So you would no longer be in need to utilize the system. So as a result, you wouldn't be held hostage to those bastards that are basically trying to strong arm other countries for the purposes of money. That's all it is. That's all it is. You got 170 plus countries around the world, United Nations, etc. All these different countries fighting one another for what? They're fighting each other for power. But it's not them, it's the system. The system itself is trying to sustain itself so it can continue to be in charge of what's actually going on. And that's the power I believe that we are actually having. It's our responsibility to come to the realization that we've never known the truth. And until we come to that realization, nothing's going to change. We're going to continue to walk around acting as though we got it going on and we the big bad America, but yet things are happening all around us in which we have not the ability to change because we lack the power to change it. The question we must begin to ask ourselves is, what is the power? What is it that we don't know that we need to know in order to understand there's something deeper than we know? I'm one to believe the question we must begin to ask ourselves, we must become what we're seeking to find. We must become that truth. We must become that diamond in the rough that subsequently became bright and brilliant. We must. You're no longer under the umbrella of a system. You will be able to make decisions, and the decisions will be more so led by the truth, and that truth will be God, which is a perfect sound, a perfect light, and that light's above every light. At some point, we got to say all or nothing. We've been having wars and rumors of war since we've known ourselves, and those that came before us knew themselves, etc. But the question we must begin to ask ourselves, why is things the way they are? And I want to believe because we are unfortunately undeveloped. All that you're encoding and seeing, you encoding first by your mind, and as a result, you can see what you encoded. If you lack the ability to extrapolate at a level deep enough to see the entire picture, you're not going to know there's a bigger picture to see. So you formulate everything that you thought was true in a small spectrum of a big reality, but yet you're only living on a speck of sand. I'm telling you all, if you don't understand what I'm saying, you're going to continue to decline in intellect. Your cellular structure is going to start mutating, making bad copies of themselves because you're losing your sound. But yet you're concerned about living to be 70, 80, 90 years old. You should be trying to live to be 13.8 billion years old, which is the power, which is the beginning, instead of 100. You're thinking, how can I live to be 13.8 billion years old, Mr. Smart Man? Listen to what I'm trying to get you to understand. Those that literally came up with the numerical number, were only living for a short period of time. So as a result, they couldn't go beyond what they came up with. So as a result, the numbers became the true reality. But yet numbers is time. We got to stop the time. If I take an atomic clock that's down here on Earth and synchronize it to the same time as the other atomic clock, I have two, and take one into space and leave the other one here, the one in the space is going to tick different than the one down here, because the one down here is in poison. But it's not that the clock is in poison. Your mind is encoding the clock, which is poison. Many think the double slit theory, in other words, why come the wave function collapse when you observe it? When you observe it, because the mind itself that's making the observation is broken. Once your mind is broken, it never collapses. In other words, you're in a different state of reality. That's what we must begin to understand. We must become that truth. We must become who we're seeking to find. We got all these different religions. I mean, thousands upon thousands fighting each other, but yet you don't realize that the power within you must manifest the truth. And as a result, when they see you, they're seeing the Father. It's time to take it back, and we must take it back by force. And the force must be the developed mind. And once that mind developed, not a devil in hell could come against such power. You will become what you were predestined to become, and that's one with the truth. Stay tuned. We're not playing the radio. Got Putin and all these different countries fighting and getting ready to, not even concerned about killing thousands upon thousands of people. Think about Vietnam, World War I, Civil War, World War II. Because we never evolved. If we would have evolved, there wouldn't have been a war. How can you have a war when you got a perfect sound? It'll shut it down. God bless you all and wake you up and get you to understand. Stop living a nasty life. Get yourself together. God bless.